Hi, I'm Evelyn. While arranging the newest additions to my library, the patter of little feet echoes through our suburban home. My kids race to their favorite spots among the towering bookshelves. Mom, can we read the Dragon book again? Mason bounces on his toes, excitement lighting up his face. No fair. We read that yesterday, Zoe protests, her pigtails swinging as she folds her arms. How about we try something new today? I suggest, reaching for a beautifully illustrated mythology book. Before we can settle in, a familiar grating voice cuts through the peaceful moment. There you go again, Evelyn, filling their heads with nonsense. My father-in-law, William, says as he steps into the room unannounced. I suppress a sigh. Dad, I didn't know you were coming over. Michael, my husband, emerges from his home office, looking as uncomfortable as always when William shows up. Can't a grandfather check on his grandchildren? William replies smoothly. His gaze shifts to Mason. Speaking of which, how's baseball going? Mason hesitates, shuffling his feet. I joined the book club instead. Book club? William's eyebrows shoot up. Michael, are you hearing this? At his age, you were already excelling in sports. Evelyn's turning him soft with all this reading nonsense. My jaw tightens. Mason chose the book club himself, William. He's thriving there. Of course he did. With you pushing all these books on him, William retorts. You're a literature professor, Evelyn, but that doesn't mean you should impose your lifestyle on my grandson. Later that evening, my best friend Scarlett stops by. A lawyer with a sharp eye for toxic behavior. She listens as I pour us both some wine. You won't believe what William did today, I sigh. Let me guess. More unsolicited parenting advice? She says with a knowing look. Exactly. He basically called me a bad mother for encouraging Mason to read. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. You're not crazy, Em. He's trying to control everything because he thinks his money gives him the right. Lily, Michael's sister, joins us after dinner, glancing nervously toward the door as if William might appear any moment. Em, I just want you to know I support you, she whispers. What Dad's doing isn't right, but... You can't speak up because he's funding your gallery, Scarlett finishes. Lily nods, her voice barely audible. He's already threatened to pull funding twice because I displayed controversial art. I can't risk losing everything. I squeeze her hand. I understand, Lily, truly. 3 days later, I stand in my backyard staring at the ashes of 15 years of memories. The acrid smell of burnt paper lingers in the air as my hands tremble, clutching a charred fragment of my mother's copy of Jane Eyre. What did you do? I whisper, my voice shaking. It had to be done, Evelyn, William says, his tone calm, infuriatingly dismissive. Those books were becoming an obsession. The kids barely played outside anymore. They're on 3 sports teams, William. They spend plenty of time outside, I snap. Michael shifts uncomfortably beside his father. Dad thought maybe we could use the space for something more practical. More practical than their education, than their heritage. I demand, my voice breaking. Evelyn, let's not be dramatic. I've already ordered some exercise equipment, William says with infuriating smugness. He burned my mother's books, I whisper, tears stinging my eyes. Her notes, her thoughts, the only pieces of her I had left. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, appears at the fence, her expression grim. I saw what happened yesterday, she says. I have it all on video if you need it. William's face turns red. You were spying on private family matters. When I see someone burning books in their backyard, you bet I record it, she snaps. That night, as I sift through Mason's school records, I find something chilling. Emails between William and my children's teachers. Look at these, I say, thrusting the papers at Michael. Your father's been emailing their teachers, asking them to forward concerns about their academic performance. He's just worried, Michael says weakly. They're both on the honor roll. Zoe's reading 2 grades above her level. He thinks pushing them too hard now could burn them out later, Michael mumbles. I stare at him, aghast. Your father burned my library. How can you defend him? He offered to pay for everything, Michael says, his voice barely audible. I don't want his money, I say firmly. I want my children to grow up knowing it's okay to love books, to think for themselves. The doorbell rings. It's Lily, her face pale and her hands trembling as she steps inside. I just heard what Dad did, she says, her voice breaking. Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. He did something similar to my art supplies in college. What? I asked, stunned. He said art wouldn't pay the bills and burned everything except my business textbooks. That's why I stopped painting, and now he's done it again. Lily, this has to stop, I say firmly. She nods and pulls a small flash drive from her pocket. I brought you something. It's all his emails to Michael about the kids, plus some concerning messages to their teachers. I also have evidence of how he's been manipulating everyone with his money. Why are you showing me this now? I ask. Because I was too scared to stand up to him before, she admits. But watching him destroy your library like he destroyed my art, I can't stay quiet anymore. And Tom Wilson isn't just our neighbor, he's an investigative journalist. Maybe it's time someone exposed Dad's concerned grandfather act. Scarlett and Tom join us at the dining table that evening, spreading papers and receipts across the surface. Take a look at these renovation receipts, Scarlett says, pointing to the documents. Your father-in-law's company charged triple the market rate for basic projects. And here's where it gets interesting. Tom highlights several transactions. These huge payments went to shell companies that all trace back to offshore accounts. He used that money to control everyone. Lily's hands tremble as she picks up one of the documents. The down payment for my gallery. It came from one of these fake renovation projects. That's how he kept us dependent on him. I stare at the papers, my mind racing. Scarlett, remember when I was offered that department chair position at Berkeley? The one that mysteriously fell through. Tom taps his laptop. Found the email trail. William contacted the dean directly, claiming you were under investigation for academic fraud. What? My voice shakes. I never knew. There's more, Lily says, pulling out her phone. Remember my ex-fiancé, Mark? Dad didn't just disapprove of him being a teacher. She presses play on a recording. William's voice fills the room. Either you end it with that worthless teacher, or I'll make sure he never works in education again. Choose wisely. Lily's eyes glisten with unshed tears. He's been playing chess with our lives for years, using his money and influence to push us wherever he wanted. The doorbell rings again. This time, it's Michael. He looks pale as he steps inside, clutching a folder. I found something in Dad's office, he says, his voice low. The company's facing an audit. He's been cooking the books for years. We know, Scarlett says, crossing her arms. We've got proof of everything. The fake renovations, the blackmail, the sabotage. Even that anonymous tip about Mason's art teacher being unqualified. That was him too. Michael sinks into a chair, his face stricken. I knew he was controlling, but this... What do we do? I ask, glancing at Tom. Tom straightens. We've got enough for multiple stories: financial fraud, systematic manipulation, abuse of power. 3 major papers are already interested, plus some business journals asking questions about the company's practices. Michael hesitates, pulling out his phone. Listen to this voice note from last week. He plays a message and William's voice floods the room. You better keep your wife in line, son. Remember who owns your house, your car, your children's college funds, everything you have. I gave you everything, and I can take it away. Michael takes a deep breath, his voice steady for the first time. No, Dad. Everything we have, you used to control us. Not anymore. The doorbell rings again. This time it's Zoe's teacher, Mrs. Thompson. She looks nervous, clutching a folder tightly in her hands. I need to confess something, she begins, her voice trembling. Your father-in-law asked me to create false concern reports about Zoe's performance. I refused, and he threatened my job. I have the emails. Add it to the pile, Scarlett says grimly, motioning to the growing mountain of evidence on the table. Tom examines the new documents, his expression resolute. This isn't just a story. This is the end of William Thompson's empire of control. Lily picks up one of William's threatening emails, her face set in determination. All these years, we thought we needed his money to succeed. But really, he needed our silence to keep his fraud going. I stand, thinking of my burned library and the memories it held. He should have remembered that knowledge is power, I say, my voice steady, and he just made the mistake of burning the wrong books. Later that evening, William stands in my doorway, checkbook in hand. His face is plastered with that familiar, fake apologetic smile. I'll pay for everything, he says, waving the checkbook. Triple what those books were worth. You still don't get it, do you? I reply, crossing my arms. This was never about money. Don't be difficult. Evelyn, he says, his tone shifting. Take the money and let's put this behind us. Just like Lily put her art behind her. Just like Michael put his teaching dreams behind him. The next day, Tom's expose hits the headlines. Construction empire built on fraud. The William Thompson story. Michael reads from his phone, his expression a mixture of disbelief and relief. The board's launching a full investigation. All projects suspended, accounts frozen. Dad's trying to reach everyone, Lily adds, shaking her head. He's desperate. Have you seen the investor lawsuits? Scarlett asks, walking in with a stack of legal documents. They're coming after everything. The doorbell rings continuously for days. We don't answer. William's voice grows hoarser with each visit, his threats weaker. Then silence. Months later, I stand in my new library. It's bigger, brighter, and filled with carefully chosen books. Sunlight streams through the windows as I address a room full of women. Welcome to our first workshop. Today, we're discussing financial independence and recognizing controlling behavior. Through the window, I spot William across the street. His shoulders are slumped, his hair grayer than I remember. His company is gone, his reputation shattered, his control evaporated. The investigation revealed decades of fraud, and his former clients aren't feeling forgiving. Mom. Mason bursts into the room, holding a trophy. Our book club won first place. And guess what? I got accepted into art school. Lally hugs me tightly, tears in her eyes. Full scholarship, she says, her voice trembling with pride. The restraining order has been approved, Michael adds quietly, stepping up beside me. He can't come near us anymore. I look at my family, really look at them. Michael stands taller now, no longer weighed down by his father's shadow. Lily smiles more often, the light in her eyes rekindled. The kids are thriving. On my desk sits a framed quote from one of my burned books. Sometimes losing everything is the best way to find what you never knew you needed. Ready for story time? I ask as everyone settles into the cozy reading nooks. Can we read about standing up to dragons? Zoe asks, her eyes shining. I smile, thinking of the real dragon we slayed. Those are my favorite stories too. Reflection. What would you do if someone deliberately destroyed something irreplaceable that represented your life's passion and memories? Would you take the money they offered as compensation, or would you choose justice, even if it meant tearing apart your entire family? Share your thoughts in the comments below.